Now we are going to record transactions using the general journal. In the last example, we looked at recording transactions using T accounts. So the concepts are going to be the same, only now we're going to be putting it into a different format that we call the general journal. So at this point, you should have read through your book and looked at some of the examples on the general journal and what exactly a general journal is. The general journal is one of the most widely used forms for businesses in recording their transactions. So in this example, we're just going to record 2 transactions. So this is an example of a general journal here. You have the left column, you have your dates. Then under account title, or sometimes it'll use the word description here, this is where we're going to record the account names that are debited or credited. This part here where it said billed customer services performed, that's an explanation. Then we're going to have a post reference column, which we're not going to use at this point, and then we have a debit column or a credit column. So the process is still the same. We figure out which accounts are going to be affected and if they're going to increase or decrease, and then do they increase with a debit or a credit. So the first one says on September 6th, we billed a customer for services performed in the amount of $3,800. So if I billed a customer, that means I sent a customer a bill and they need to pay me. So the account that is used in that scenario is accounts receivable, because that's money I'm going to receive. So at this point, we need to remember that accounts receivable is an asset account. We're increasing the amount that we're going to receive later, and assets increase with the debit. So we're going to put the amount of our debit for $3,800. And the other thing, you'll notice I put my debit first. That is always the case in the general journal. You always list all of your debit accounts first and your credit accounts second. Okay, why am I going to receive $3,800? It says for services performed. Okay, that means that's my revenue account. Revenue increases with a credit. So my service revenue is the name of the revenue account I'm using, and I will credit it for $3,800. The thing that is also true using the general journal is that we want total debits to equal total credits for each transaction, and this is actually easier for us to check that than the T accounts. $3,800 debit equals my $3,800 credit. I increased my asset receivable, and I increased my service revenue. Assets just increase with a debit, and revenues increase with a credit. So that's the September 6th. Now we're going to scroll down and we're going to record this next transaction. We received partial payment from the customer billed on the 6th. So this person that we sent a bill to on the 38th has given us part of what they owe us. Okay? So in this transaction, I received partial payment. That means I received cash. So I'm going to increase cash with a debit in the amount that they gave me, which was $1,800. All right, so keep in mind that up here we had increased accounts receivable that said that they owe us $3,800. Well, if they pay us $1,800, they don't owe us $3,800 anymore, do they? They only owe us $2,000. So I need to decrease that accounts receivable account by the amount that they paid me. And from this transaction, you can see a debit of $3,800 minus a credit of $1,800 shows that they still owe me $2,000. So I debited cash, credited accounts receivable, I decreased my accounts receivable. My debits equal my credits, and this transaction is also one that we refer to as we've turned our receivables into cash. We've collected or received part of the money that is owed to us from our customers. So then we'll click our check our work function to make sure that we have done everything correctly. We have green, so that looks good. And then it gives you kind of an explanation again about the transaction, so I would encourage you to always read those. And then here's the general journal of those 2 transactions. Here's what it should look like. And then again over here.